Okay, so we're now on to M3, so that's mic 3, where it says we have to optimize a website to meet clients' requirements. So before we go ahead and look at the requirements again, what does it mean to optimize? It simply means to remove things that are not needed. It also means to make faster, so make something faster, make something better, make something more efficient. So the main things I'm going to focus on here are making the elements smaller. So the elements that I know I can make smaller from what I've done in the past are audio, pictures, and videos. Even one for each is fine. And I said here, even one for each is fine. So even if we have one audio file, one picture file, and one video file, and we optimize those, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that because it says optimize the website to meet client requirements. It doesn't say exactly what we have to optimize. We, as the web developer, web designer, we have to go through the list of things that we have, see what can be made better, see what can be made smaller, see how we can make the website faster, right? So the first thing I'm going to look at, I might as well look at audio. So here I just have a table. Yours doesn't have to be a table. It can be just a normal sentence after sentence is perfectly fine. But item to optimize, I'm going to say podcast, audio, right? That's the first thing. Screenshot before, screenshot after, and I'm going to say how I optimized it. The original file was wave, W-A-V. I then made the new file an MP3, which made it significantly smaller. That's it. That's fine for me. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how I would do this. So let me minimize this. Let me go to my Unit 6 folder, I believe, and let me drag this over here. And I believe GTA website, I have an audio folder here. Did I save it in there? I did not. I need to go and find where I actually saved that. But I believe I have both of them actually, yeah. But let me delete these anyway. Let me just go and do it from scratch again, just so you guys can see the process again. So let me open my Audacity program. Now, this is a program that I use to record my audio, to export it. I'm going to go to File, Recent Files. It's going to be one of these. Let's choose the first one. Here I've got my file open. Now, again, here I've got my folder open with both my files. So this one was the WAV file. And as you can see down here, it says 15.1 megabytes. 1A was the MP3 file, which was 3.42 megabytes. So significantly smaller, roughly 5 times smaller, right? So I'm going to come in here again, and I'm just going to show you how I exported this. Now, on your phones, you can typically save it as WAV MP3 or sometimes OGG, I believe. So just double check which file type is going to be smaller for you. It's most likely going to be MP3. So I would go with MP3. In Audacity, you're going to go to File, Export, MP3. What I'm going to do is even make this smaller than the MP3 that I had. So the way you do this, you leave it as MP3 here, and where it says constant, you could probably leave that as constant. Where it says quality, I'm going to bring this down to about, let's say 192. 192 is still very good in my opinion. I'm going to save it here. I'm going to say record podcast. Let's call this podcast 1 small, right? Just take the space out. I'm going to click save, click OK, right? That's going to export. I'm going to minimize this, go back. Now again, remember this was the WAV file, 15.1 megabytes. This was the original MP3 file, which was very high quality MP3, 3.42 megabytes. I have no idea what the last file size is, so let's find out together. So remember 15, 3.42, and the last one, look at that, 2.05 megabytes. So this is roughly 7 times smaller than the original WAV file. That's significantly smaller. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for podcast 2 and call it podcast 2 small, and then we can compare sizes again. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to go to File, here we go, Recent Files. And here we go, podcast 2. No, that's the first one. This is the one here. All right. Again, I'm going to go to File, Export as MP3. And I am going to change it again. Well, it's already changed to 192, so I can call this one podcast 2 small. Click Save. Click OK. That's exported already. Let's minimize this. Let's minimize this. Now, Podcast 2, the original, was 4.92 megabytes, very, very small file still. The second one, the MP3 file, was 1.11 megabytes, so roughly 4 times smaller. Podcast 2, the MP3, the low quality MP3, 687 kilobytes, not even a megabyte. A megabyte is roughly 1000 to 1024. That's how most systems show it. It should be 1024, but this is less than a megabyte. Very, very small. So this is how I optimized. Now, how do you screenshot this? I would probably do the file sizes. So on your file explorer, what you could do is zoom in to maybe this level. Let's keep zooming in until I can find it. Zoom out. Just bear with me a second until I figure it out. And there we go, right? So keep changing your view settings until you get to the one you want. So for me, it's on tiles right now. So this is podcast 1. That's the original WAV file, original MP3. And down here, podcast 1 small again. I'll show this as my screenshot for before and after. So maybe do a screenshot of the WAV file first. So let's just open my screenshot thing. Highlight this. Let's drag it to about there. That's fine. Going to go back to my document. Now you can do whatever you deem fit. This is what I think is most appropriate for me. I'm going to paste that in there. Maybe stretch this a bit. And for the other side, I'm going to do the same. Oh, bear with me. Do the same thing. So I have this open. Now again, podcast 1 wave, podcast 1 wave again. Sorry, MP3 and podcast 1. This is the smaller MP3 file. Now I can make this smaller, but I think 192 kilobytes at 2 megabytes is very small. We don't need to go any more than that for me, for my project. If your project is you putting high quality sounds on your website, maybe don't go any lower than maybe 320 to 256, I believe. So let me screenshot this one. Oh, I don't want that box around it actually. So let's do that. Yep. All right, let's grab it from about here to about there. That's fine. Go back to this, paste that. And let's go up a bit and let's stretch this out. All right, that's it. Now, not the prettiest thing in the world. Fine, it doesn't have to be pretty. But what I did, I went from a WAV file, as you can clearly see here, WAV audio file to MP3 audio file, 15 megabytes versus 2.05 megabytes, 7 times smaller roughly. That's a massive, massive saving. Imagine if I had multiple files on the website that were of this relative size. That's a massive saving. So this is how I would do my screenshot for audio. Just explain it here. That's fine. Now you go through your website and find as many different elements as you can. For me, I only have audio for that one, the podcast one. I've got audio, I've got pictures and I've got videos. So I can do each of these. But if you only have audio, that's fine. I say most people should have pictures that they can change. Either you're going to change the picture entirely or change the file format. So you could import it into one of your editing programs, let's say Photopea or Google Drawings, and export it as a JPEG. I'm going to show that now anyway. So let's do the next one. You won't be able to optimize the video that you have linked to an external website. So on mine, if I just go to, I think it was the content page, this video here that's linked directly to YouTube, there's nothing I can do to optimize this because this is simply linking to another website, right? But what I am going to do is optimize this video here. This is one I created on my PlayStation 5 and I exported it and added it to my website myself. Local videos that I have the video file myself, I can optimize. So let me minimize this and go find my video file. Minimize, I think it's in videos, and here we go, GTA video, right? It says it's 49.6 megabytes, very, very small video, but that's not the point. The point of this is how do I make it smaller? How do I make it more optimized, right? What I'm going to do, I'm going to actually bring this in to my video editor, right? And I'm going to export it as a lower resolution. There are free websites that you can use to do this, but because I have a video editor here, I'm going to make use of what I have and what I know how to use quickly. You can download any one of those video editors that give you like a month free trial, and if you have a video that you do want to use, you should be able to export it. Some of them do come with a watermark on them, which is perfectly fine for the purpose of this coursework, right? So I'm going to drag this into my video editor, drag and drop there. And what I'm going to do is simply put this onto my timeline. Now, this process is purely down to what I have done with my video. Again, you can use one of those video websites that you can upload the video and then export it as a lower quality. It really doesn't matter. Once you can make the video smaller, that's the main purpose. So my video here is full HD, 60 frames per second, right? What I could do, look, at the beginning here, let me make this larger, right click, adjust track height, let's make that big. That bottom part there, this is the audio that's present in the video, and the top part is the actual video itself, right? As you can see at the beginning, I don't have any audio. So what I could do is just chop out that beginning part, right? Again, however you choose to do this is perfectly fine. I know how to use this software, so I'm going to do it in this software. This is the Filmora software, by the way. I'm going to chop off the end as well because it doesn't have any audio there. So there's no point in me having a section of the video with no audio. Delete that. That already saves me 2 seconds. That already makes the video smaller. Even if I export it as exactly the same quality, it's going to be slightly smaller, right? I'm now going to go to export here, and I'm going to change my settings from full HD, as it says 1920 by 1080 or 1920 times 1080. That's the resolution of the video. I'm going to change that. I'm going to drop it down to 720p. So that's 1280 if I can find it. Here we go, 1280 by 720. This is a noticeably smaller video file format, and I'm going to change the bit rate from 20,000 down to about, I don't know, let's make it half. Let's make it 10,000, right? That should change the file size to a decent amount. Let's put this to 60 frames. And I'm going to click OK here. And the file size, it says, should be roughly 24.6 megabytes. So let me go back to my my file here, and this was 49, so roughly 50 megabytes. So all in all, about half the size. I'm going to screenshot this, right? So let me do Alt-GR and print screen. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to put it in my document because I want to show what I did. You don't have to do that. You can just do before and after and explain it. But just because I'm on here showing you guys everything that you need to do, I might as well, right? So if I can find that section, paste that here. This was the before. This, let me just put that here for now. I can always move it later on. Yep. I'm going to go back to this and I'm going to actually export this video to the same location. Let me just export it down to documents for now. Sorry, to desktop for now. That doesn't take very long at all because it's a very small video. Click close and that's it. I'm done. I'm going to put that video in that folder now. Here is my video file on my desktop. Let me cut this and move it into my normal video folder. Let me drag this over here. GTA website. Let's go to videos. Let's put that there. Okay, right. I mean, one's called GTA video, one's called my video. Both exactly the same thing, but one is significantly smaller. And again, the original video was 49.6 megabytes, as we can see down here. And the new video is 23.9. So let's just say 24 megabytes. And let me change that view. So if I click on view here, and I think it was tiles. Yep, I can see the file sizes of each one. And I can show that I've actually trimmed off 2 seconds from this one. So that's good as well. So let me screenshot the first one and drop that into my document, which is here. So this is before. Go back to this, screenshot this one as well. And this one is going to be after. Now you can choose to do this any way you want. I think this is probably the easiest way. Let me zoom, well, let me stretch this one a bit. Yep. It's a bit blurry, but that's fine. Nothing's wrong with that. And here we go. So I can say, how was it optimized? So this is what this question is asking. How was it optimized? We can say quite a few things from my video, how I just did mine. So I can say 2 seconds. It is 2 seconds stripped from the video as there was no audio in those sections. That's one way, right? Oh, spelled that wrong. So this is where STRI, this is where I actually removed the beginning and the end of the video because there was no audio there. That's one way I did it. The next way was to reduce. So this is why I screenshotted this thing here, because I could leave this in as another piece of evidence to show that I changed the bitrate and the resolution. Changed or reduced the resolution from 1920 by 1080 to 1280 by 720. So from full HD down to normal HD. Let's make sure I spell that right. That's one way. I also reduced What did I reduce again? The bit rate. Reduce the bit rate from 20,000 to 10,000. I think it was kilobits per second. I think it was something like that. But just let me actually open the program and check. Let's zoom this image up. That was oh, I can't see it here, but in any case, it doesn't really matter, whatever it was, right? Again, this is just for me. This is just because I use that specific software. Reduce the bit rate from 20,000 to 10,000 kilobits per second. I believe that's what it was. What else did I do? Nothing else really. So I could use this screenshot here as a part of this evidence here to show how I got my video from the original 50 megabytes down to roughly 24 megabytes, so roughly half the size. These are the steps I followed. And that's it. I would leave it there. I would leave it there. Have these as fully flushed out sentences, and I would leave it there. All right, so the next thing I need to optimize is an image. So I'm just going to use one image as an example, but this would work for all the images in exactly the same way. And I'll give the benefits and drawbacks of doing this one. This is different from the others, right? So the banner is what I'm going to use. And I have my banner in, let me close this folder, let me go to videos, let me go back. I think it's in images and in banner. Now in the banner, I've got my banner as 452 kilobytes, and I believe this is a PNG. So I right click on it, I go to properties, and it says PNG. Yep, perfect. PNGs are typically larger than JPEGs. JPEGs compress the image a lot more. So what I'm going to do, I've opened my banner here already. This is the original one I did on Google, not Google Classroom, Google Drawings. Okay, so this is Google Drawings. On here, it's going to be the same size, but let me just go ahead and download it. So I'm going to go to File, Download. I'm going to download a PDF copy. I'm going to download again, File, Download a JPEG copy. I'm going to go back to Downloads again, File, Download, PNG copy, just so we have all three that we can compare. Here I've got all my banners. Let me minimize this in the background so it doesn't look too messy. All my banners in the same folder. So this is the original. No, the original one is this one here, the JPEG, which is 452 kilobytes. Very, very small. Let's look at this. Is the same thing again. Nothing's changed between these two. I downloaded it twice just to give you a comparison. The PDF version is 458 kilobytes. Again, not very small. And we couldn't use the PDF one on the website anyway. PDF is a document and not an image. The banner needs to be an image for it to work properly. Next on this one, this is the JPEG. So when I click on that, as you can see, it says 47.3 kilobytes. Let's just say this says 50 kilobytes, and this one was, I don't know, 500. This is roughly 10 times smaller than the PNG. So this is why you would use a JPEG. It's 10 times smaller than the same PNG. And I'm going to click on that one to open it. I'm going to put this to one side so you can see that. Let's not do that. And I'm going to click on the PNG as well. And let's put this to the other side just so we can look at the comparison and see. My human eyes cannot tell a single difference between these two things, right? I can't see the difference personally. If you can, fine. But in either case, it's 10 times smaller. So you're ideally going to want, this is the JPEG over here on the left. It says JPEG there at the top. This is the one you're going to want to use, ideally for something like a banner. Now, the thing about JPEGs is, like, unlike PNGs, they do not give you a transparent background. So let me go back to my index file on here. Is it index? Yeah, index should work. Down here, as you can see, all of these are JPEGs except for this email icon here. The problem with this email icon is that it's a PNG, or it doesn't have a transparent background. Whereas the others, as you can see, for example, the phone icon, it's just the same shade of white or the same color as the main page. That's because it's a proper PNG and everything is transparent. That's not colored in. JPEGs will have that background there. It's either going to be black or some offshoot of black. But the point is, you won't be able to see through the image. So if you need an image to be like an icon like this, like these ones here, you cannot use a JPEG. So what do I actually go and say in my thing here? So let me remove this stuff here. Now I only did the banner for this, but this will apply to everything. Screenshot from before and after. So just like before, I'm going to go back to my folder, go to images, go to banner, and I'm going to change this to tiles, I believe, change view to tiles, and I can see the file sizes. Now the original one was this one here, 452 kilobytes, paste that. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to choose the JPEG one next, which is 40 something kilobytes, right? Come back to my document and paste it there. And there we have it. Perfect. Now I can say PNG files were used before. Most were then changed to JPG or JPEG, some people say. Some were changed to JPEGs, making each file roughly 10 times smaller. These files are local, so testing the speed is not possible on here. We can say that that's perfectly fine. Possible. However, on a server, a file being 10 times smaller would make a difference. And that's it. I think that's fine. Once you say what you did and what was the outcome of that. So I converted my PNG files to JPEGs. No, I'm just paraphrasing on mine. So don't take mine as gospel, right? Change it as and when you see fit. This is just a random basic example. And again, all I did, I went from PNG files. Let me stretch this out a bit more. It's a bit blurry, but that should be fine. I went from a PNG file to a JPEG file. That's the main thing. It doesn't matter how you did it. I use Google Drawings to do mine. But if you use Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator or any image editing program that you use that you like and you can convert something from PNG to JPEG, that's fine. And again, JPEGs do not have transparent backgrounds. Keep that in mind. So if you want the transparent background look like we had on here, let's say, like on this one, you will not get it from a JPEG. What you could do, let's say your website is like mine, pretty boring and ugly, right? But you wanted to leave the background as white. You could change the background color of the JPEG to white so it would actually match and it wouldn't stand out. It would be perfectly fine. It wouldn't be like this weird, let me zoom in. It wouldn't be like this weird one down here where everything else is very clear and nothing is around it. But this one, you can see a tiny gray around it, okay? That's what would happen if you chose a JPEG. So hopefully that made sense. Let me go back to my document and see what's next. So that's how I would optimize my website. I would make these files smaller. This one is 7 times larger. Actually, let me read this one as well. The original file was WAV. I then made the new file in MP3, which made it significantly smaller. I replaced the WAV file with the MP3. All of the files are local. As a result, there was not a noticeable change in speed. However, if this were on a server, then loading a file which is roughly 7 times smaller would be faster, would definitely make a difference. Because if you think about it, imagine the YouTube website. If the YouTube website had a banner that was roughly 15 MB or whatever, right? And YouTube is probably the biggest search engine in the world right now. So many people go to YouTube every day. If everyone was accessing the YouTube website or the YouTube app every day, and every single time you open the app, you have to load 15 whole megabytes versus having to load 2 megabytes. That's a massive difference. This is going to load so much faster in most cases. Not in every case, because some people's internet is so fast that 15 megabytes is really no different to 2. But for most people, and for measuring speed, 2 megabytes is noticeably quicker, okay? For video, I went from 50 megabytes to 24 megabytes. I changed the bit rate from 20,000 to 10,000. I changed the resolution from full HD just down to normal HD, which is from 1920 by 1080 down to 1280 by 720. What else did I do? I chopped off some of the audio from the beginning and the end that was not relevant. As you can see, this one says 22 seconds here. This one says 20 seconds here. So I got rid of roughly a second at the beginning and a second at the end. And finally, for images, not just banner. I put banner because that's the only one I changed, but it's going to be the same process for all your images. If you did something similar to what I did, change your PNG files to JPEG files and see how that works out. So this is how I will go ahead and optimize my website. Now, there are other things that we can do, but again, for the purpose of this assignment, you only need to show a few things. Now, you could have shown maybe the banner and maybe the icons down here. One or two icons would be fine. And I don't think you need to do more than that, because if you've done that for every single page, imagine going from, I think this was what, 500 kilobytes. Imagine going from 500 kilobytes to 50 kilobytes for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages. You're already making those sections of the website 10 times smaller, right? So it's going to have a knock-on effect on everything else. So hopefully that made sense. Like and subscribe, and stay tuned for D2 and D3. Thank you.